Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Schmid, Deloitte Digital's Chief IoT Technologist, also known as Mr.IoT. This week on Coffee with Mr.IoT, my co-host Rachel Moorman. She often goes by our life science IoT geek, and I are talking with Robert Scoble.
Hey, how you doing?
Of the day today is what's going on in IoT? IoT is changing the world, or is it? Robert, welcome. How are you?
Doing great. Samsung just this morning announced that they're working on mixed reality glasses, so the timing of this book is perfect.
Well, we're getting right into it. Mixed reality, your book. Give us a little bit of a thing. What have you been doing lately? You changed. You were at Rackspace until early this year. Now you're doing some new stuff. What's up? Show us your gadgets.
I'm getting into this world, you know, of Microsoft HoloLens world, where it puts it has 3D sensors that see the world and put virtual stuff on top of it. So if I turn this on, I would have virtual screens up here, and then we can play games like Fragments where stuff happens in the room that you're actually in. It's a lot of fun. But this is the future of a whole lot of things. It's just this is too big and too expensive right now. And the tech industry is really good at making things that are big and expensive cheaper and smaller. So I figure in about 2 years that this glass will be a much smaller glass, and that's when we really see the potential of this new world show up, because this is still too heavy even for me to wear a lot of the day. Right? It's fun to wear for an hour, but I don't know that I'd want to wear this for 8 hours while working on a tractor or something like that. Right?
I don't see you really working on a tractor as your thing, though, huh?
No. I don't do real work.
So you mentioned the big, huge, chunky things, but you know, Google Glasses came out not too long ago with the more sleek design. Why didn't that take off? Why wasn't that a success in the marketplace? Why didn't that blow up? I mean,
well, first of all, the Google Glass didn't do anything that HoloLens can do. Google Glass didn't have room sensors, doesn't do augmented reality, doesn't do virtual reality, and really doesn't put an overlay on your field of view the way that the HoloLens and the other mixed reality glasses that will come will do. Google Glass also was $1,500, and all it really did was take video. So here I have another product to show you. So if you look at Snapchat,
what is this?
These are the
what is that?
Spectacles. These are from Snap. This is the best way to create media for Snapchat. In fact, here, I'll take some video here. And so this is the Snap Spectacles are the best way to create video for Snapchat. It creates a round video that then can be displayed either vertically or horizontally on your phone. It's really a lot of fun. But these are $130, and they get rid of a lot of the problems of Google Glass. They fold up so you can put them in a pocket and put them away when they're not appropriate. Because it's not appropriate to wear a camera everywhere, right? You don't want to wear a camera in a locker room, for instance. That's illegal, and immoral. But so there's places where you don't want to wear glasses. You need to be able to fold them up. Google Glass didn't fold up, and it was really hard to put away and take off your face. So it caused a lot of the users to wear it more often than they probably should have. It also has very clear lights. When I took video of you could see that there was a ring of lights on one side. Yeah, and it only lets you record 10 seconds or a minute. The Google Glass tried to let you record a full 20, 30, 50-minute video if the battery could last. The two product categories couldn't be more different other than they're on your face, and that's the one commonality. But the Snapchat glasses are on your face, and so are HoloLens. But Snap doesn't have optics that show you, virtual stuff laid on top of the world, and it doesn't have 3D sensors to map out the world, that kind of thing. So
Robert, I have a question for you. You said you don't wear them on a tractor. You don't take them to a locker room. When do you wear HoloLens? When do you wear Snapchat glasses? Really, for yourself?
Snap glasses anytime you're doing something interesting. So if we go to Vegas and you're doing something interesting in Vegas with us, I'll start pulling those glasses out and start shooting video, right? Because that's Snap. Snapchat's a daily TV show about your life. So anytime you want to capture a show about what you're seeing or what you're experiencing, or you want to entertain your friends, you pull them out. HoloLens, I wear anytime I need to do work in 3 dimensions. I would use them a lot more if it wasn't so heavy, because you can have as many virtual screens in front of you as you want, and you can grab these screens with your hands and reposition them and make them bigger. It's like having a TV that's virtual right in front of you. And that will be very, very useful once the optics and the size get down. It is useful today, but it comes with too high a cost for me personally. It's really fun to play these new kinds of games in. A game like Fragments is a murder mystery. So what you do, you scan out your room with the HoloLens, and it puts the murder mystery on your room. So stuff is happening on the walls and on the floor. There's a little virtual rat that runs around your floor. It's really freaky. And that shows you the potential to do new kinds of things. And this is why it's being used at Caterpillar to train people how to fix $1 million tractor, or it's being used at Boeing for people to fix a jet engine, because it's really good at that. And that's a place where you have to put up with the wait to do your job, you know. I don't know. It's going to be a fun world, because I can see everything changing thanks to this technology over the next 5 or 10 years. You know, when you go to a sporting event, you're going to wear a pair of glasses like this, and you're going to see stats on top of your football players, right? Or on top of your race cars. If you go to a shopping mall, you're going to walk in and say, where are the jeans? And a blue line is going to appear on the floor, taking you right to the jeans. And you're going to use it while trying to be educated, for sure. And you're going to use it for entertainment, for sure, because it does virtual reality as well. So now you can play Frisbee with your friends. You can play basketball, stuff like that. But I'm on an IoT show. And when Qualcomm had me, you know, there's yeah. You know, so this isn't gaming world, right?
Yeah,
hey, we like you to riff. It's okay.
Yeah, we like games here, but you know, really on our show we've had lots of industry experts, lots of people trying to figure out how to capitalize on this IoT thing, which, you know, Robert and I joke is going to become everything. It's, you know, IoT is just a name right now, but it's really kind of our future of our world. So now you mentioned I've got these lenses on that have sensors connected to them in some cases. We're going to get them smaller. We're going to get them cheaper. Everyone's going to get them in their hands eventually. What does that mean, though, to kind of the commercialization of that connection? So now I've got a sensor. You know where I am. You know what I'm doing. You talked about the application of fixing things, sure. But if we were to look at like the commercial intrinsic value of this, what's the real value for having that sensor there, knowing what I'm doing, and I'm able to interact in that new kind of way?
It's a new user interface for your computing world. That's why we call it, when we wrote this book, we called it the fourth transformation, because it's the fourth user interface of the personal computing age, right? We started out computing with a command line in DOS, and we would type commands to it. And then we moved to GUIs, where we use a mouse to click on icons and click on menus. And then we moved to the iPhone or touch computing mobile phone, and that brought a new user interface. And now we're getting this new kind of spatial computing or mixed reality kind of world, where the user interface is laid on top of the real world. So think about, at Qualcomm, they took me down in their basement of their new building. It's a LEED certified building where their headquarters is. And they have all the plumbing and all the pumps and all that. All of that has been, is modern, right? So it has sensors in the pumps, and you can use glasses like this to walk around the pipes down there, and you'll see the pumps and the readings that are coming off of the pump in real time. So that, one, you're going to be able to visualize a process or a thing with these glasses, and you're going to be able to control it. You're going to have virtualized interfaces on top of the pipe. So if there's something going wrong, or if one of the pumps needs to be turned up to apply more flow to it, we could actually just grab a virtual interface and turn it up. And what it's really doing is going up to cloud computing, finding that API, finding the setting, and then changing it in a database, right? But to the human, it looks like you just reached down and turned up the pump. It's far easier to do that than to figure out where in the database a setting is and change it, right? And that's the power. We're going to visualize our manufacturing lines in new ways with these things, and we're going to build. Our homes are going to have Internet of Things all over the place, right? So you're going to use your eyes. You're going to look at a light. You're going to say that light's too bright, and you're going to just turn it down with either your hands or your voice or your eyes, right? Because a menu could pop off that Internet of Things light and could let me just with my eyes, and that hasn't yet shipped, but it's coming. Google just bought a company called iFluence that's building the eye sensors for their next product. But soon we're going to be able to use our eyes, look at a pump or look at a light and adjust it with these glasses. So these are going to be the interface for our entire world. And our entire world is going to be a mixed world. It's going to be some reality and some virtual mixed together. And it's going to be really hard to tell when you're in the glasses what's real and what's virtual.
So it's interesting to me because when you talk about mixed reality and I talk about IoT, it almost feels to me what you're talking about is we actually can't live without each other.
Yeah.
Your virtual reality depends on and I'm sort of like making this you and me, right? But you know, what we talk about in terms of sensors, you need all those sensors to actually complement the reality that we see around us with virtual stuff, and you overlay that. And what you're talking about in fourth transformation is sort of really how we're changing the way we interact with things around us. Did I hear that right?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just at Mercedes R&D lab earlier this week, and we talked about how what would a self-driving car be like in such a world, right? We're going to be able to see the sensors that are on the front of the car because they're putting focusable lidars on the front of these cars now. And you're going to be able to see what the car sees. And then there's many companies, Mercedes is one of them, who are building a 3D map of the world, or at least of the driving part of the world. And you're going to be able to see that ahead too, and see what the database actually shows is coming up ahead. And it could do all sorts of fun stuff. Like, if you're trying to race on a racetrack, it could actually tell you what the next turn is, how steep it is, how fast you should take it for optimal results, blah, 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 right? And when you're in the car could disappear because there could be cameras on the outside of the car that your glasses display. And that's already been shown to us. A company called ODG worked with BMW to do exactly that and then get rid of all the blind spots in the car so that you could see through the car into the other lanes of traffic or onto the road. So that's one thing. But these glasses are going to have a 3D sensor that's so sensitive it can tell. It could tell how from 3 feet away how hard I'm pressing this table in front of me. Right? It can tell. Probably can tell how hard your heart is 3 feet away. It can look in in the fabric of your shirt and check what kind of brand it is. On and on, and it's going to grab things in volumes just the same way as the self-driving car is doing. So that's an interesting point, by the way, because your robot, your drone, your self-driving car, and your mixed reality glasses all use similar kinds of software to map the world, be able to navigate around inside that world, and be able to potentially lay stuff on top of the world, right?
So I just want to say, if you're just joining us, I'm Robert Schmid, Deloitte's Chief IoT Technologist. You're watching Coffee with Mr. IoT, and today Rachel and I are talking with Robert Scoble about mixed reality and IoT. Robert, I have a question for you that goes on back to, so like you talk about these technologies, and I often talk about how IoT is going to give us so much data. We talk about big data today. I call it huge data now. You talk about all these virtual worlds or real worlds that we overlay with new stuff. And then we talk about companies, car companies and consumer product companies. And those companies are really good at manufacturing, at making hardware. And this is a whole new world for them. So my question for you is twofold. One, who are going to be the guys that really going to help them with that? Whom should they partner with? And two, I talk about how this is hard for them because they don't have the skills for that. Forget the technology. We can all help them with tech, but what people do they need, and how do they best go about getting into that?
Well, I'm working with a number of companies who are starting to think about this augmented world, because in 10 months we're going to get an iPhone that's going to do augmented reality, and you're going to look at it, and it's going to map your room, and it's going to put Pokemons, on top of the real world, so you can see.
You're going to get a see-through iPhone?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing from five separate sources. Yeah, even if you don't get a clear glass iPhone, you can do this with 3D sensors and faking it a little bit. And we've already seen some products. Occipital has this bridge device where it does mixed reality on a standard iPhone with a little sensor that they sell you. Yeah, I don't know where to go with that.
So I have a question for you, Robert. So
yeah.
This is cool stuff. You mentioned a few things that, I'm going to take the more cautious route. That's a little scary, right? So you mentioned, I'm not going to know what's reality and what's kind of coming in from my glasses. And then the other thing that's a constant that we hear as a risk.
Your mind will know at some level.
Yeah.
But forget about all this newfangled augmented reality stuff that hasn't really come to consumers yet.
Yeah.
I've seen people unable to walk across a floor at Stanford. They know they're in a regular floor, but when they're in virtual reality, it's showing them a plank on the floor with a huge drop off. So half their mind is going, I'm going to fall. And I've seen people unable to walk across that plank, even though they know they're walking on a real floor, right, in real life. So it already has messed with their mind to a point where they're unable to walk forward because they think they're going to fall off of a virtual plank.
Well, that sounds absolutely terrifying and some sort of like newfangled torture device. But
it's a lot of fun, man. That torture is a lot of fun. It turns out you shoot some zombies downstairs, and you're going to get scared and scream. And for everybody else in the room, this is highly entertaining.
So Robert, you're not only a book author, but also you got some other hobbies on the side of learning.
Oh, yeah, I like torturing people.
More about you.
Come on over. I'll put you in VR and see if you scream. And everybody does, by the way.
Fantastic. That and the rat running around, I think were enough to scare me. But the other thread that comes up constantly on our show is the eminent security risk or the controls risk around this. So now you're messing with my brain. Now you're taking sensor data from me. You said, my clothes, my kind of where I am, where I'm, existing, and what I'm almost thinking, because you're augmenting my reality.
And I'm looking at the glasses are going to look at your eyes, which tells you a lot, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, if you go back to Minority Report or any of the sci-fi that are they going to come after me for a crime I haven't committed? What's the security risk? Why would I take that risk? Why would I even put these glasses on?
Because the utility with humans, when the utility is greater than the cost, we use it, right? Cars kill 33,000 people, and I haven't yet seen a death come from virtual reality or augmented reality. I'm sure somebody's going to break an arm, falling on the floor because they got fooled. But we haven't yet seen a death. Yet we all drive, even knowing that cost, knowing that 33,000 people a year die in these things. Why? Because the utility of driving is way better than the cost and the potential cost to us. And the same thing is going to be true here. But I have a whole chapter. Shell and I wrote a whole chapter in here on the downsides, potential downsides, and you nailed it. Getting overloaded with marketing messages is a potential downside. Having governments control us is a downside. In the glasses, at least we could take them off. But everybody, when we get together at parties, we're like, oh, when are we going to jack in? When are we going to get a little optic nerve jack? So implantable lenses, they're a real thing, right? I mean, we're already using it for other sensors in there. I mean, for diabetes care, 20, 30 years for sure. It's not a long time in terms of human development. And that's when you really can't tell anymore, you know, where things are going. So we have to decide on a new form of ethics and a new form of privacy for this and a new form of control. The eye sensors are going to be biometrically matched to you, so it'll know that you're wearing them, and it'll show you only your information. That'll be part of it. Part of it is we're going to build a new 3D map of the world as well, and so the glasses are always going to know where they are. So when we could decide on rooms where these are not appropriate, right? Or at least the sensors recording stuff is not appropriate, i.e. going into a locker room where there's naked people, right? You don't want these sensors to be grabbing everything in the room at such an opportune time. So we're going to need a new kind of privacy. And in fact, Apple has a patent on exactly that, to turn off devices when you walk in a specific room.
So like a safe space? So like it's already got a sensor that feeds back to the device to say this is a safe space, turn your stuff off? Or
well, keep in mind, when you build a 3D map of the entire world, every room, every experience you're going to have, it's going to know that you're walking into a bathroom, because just like you do, you know the sign for a bathroom. You know how to find a bathroom. You know how to ask for that. You know how to, when you walk into a bathroom, what are the rules? The rules change, right? Yeah. I think in the men's ones, we don't talk to each other very much in a bathroom, right? That's sort of a social rule. I
have to tell you, it's interesting to me when I think of security and what you talk about, I almost feel like I'm overlaying information that comes from other systems. I get worried that actually the wrong information gets overlaid and I make the wrong decision. Think about that. There's security implication from this. So that's also a part I think about. Let me ask you this.
That's already a problem. Look at all the fights about fake news on Facebook.
Exactly.
You know, how do you know something you're reading is accurate? You really don't know today. And you know, and we have people who aren't very adept at figuring that out. So we have to fix that as a human society. If we want to make the correct decision as a society, we have to help people know whether something is real or fake, right? And where did it come from, and what is trying to be sold to us with this article, et cetera, et cetera. And
so I need PolitiFact on my HoloLens then. I'm gonna have this PolitiFacts I'm gonna have on my HoloLens then to check if the facts that come in are true.
That, or you might see 3D. You might see underneath articles people shooting the event in 3D right now, right? And we're getting a sense of that with live video. And if you see live video from an event, you know it's more reputable than if it's on Breitbart, right? You know, or on a left-wing newsletter, right? So we're gonna fix some of these things with these, but it'll bring new kinds of challenges that are going to be scary to a lot of people for a while, right?
So Robert, you have access to very new technology. You think a lot about the future. Let us bring it back today. What of this stuff that you showed us is available today, and what can a Nestle, a Mercedes, any one of those companies do today, and where would they take that today?
Today you can buy a HoloLens for $3,000 and you can start doing this stuff right now. I mean,
doing what stuff right now? What would you do right now?
Putting virtual stuff on top of your manufacturing line so your workers can work in a new way, building new kinds of experiences where your workers can work on 3D objects. I mean, if you work at Ford right now, they're designing their cars in virtual reality. And if you go to Disneyland, they design their new park in Shanghai all in virtual reality. So you can do a lot of things today already in business with these kinds of devices, and you're seeing them pop up all over the place because of that. It's just they're too expensive for consumers, right? If you're doing surgery, wearing something like like this HoloLens, not a problem. But if you're walking through the shopping mall, that's a huge problem. It's too big and too expensive, and batteries don't last long enough, blah, 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 blah. We're a few years away from getting these devices small enough to be useful widely and cheap enough, because $3,000 is way out of the price range of most human beings, right? You know, if you're in San Francisco, okay, yeah, most of us can afford these things, but not
really, because you just bought your house, but
yeah, add another $3,000 on your mortgage, you'll never notice it in $1 million house, right?
you talked about the applications, and I just kind of want to wrap this up. So I mean, I think the big thing we also go back to weekly is that the technology's here now. What would you say is the most innovative way that you've seen augmented reality used? So like manufacturing lines, all that really cool stuff. But what's one of the most interesting things that you're seeing it being used for? Something maybe most people hadn't thought of or hadn't seen.
Sephora is building augmented reality makeup, and it already works on your iPhone. So if you get the Sephora app, Sephora is a big retailer, cosmetic retailer. You can look at your face, try out like pink makeup on your face. And this is the key point, and I think this is really important for marketers. They match the color on the augmented reality to the physical product. So when you actually go and buy the pink lipstick, it matches what you saw on your face using the iPhone app. And soon they're going to enable this on your actual face while you're walking around. So 5 years from now, you're going to be buying virtual makeup for everybody to check out, right? I might walk around dressed like Kiss, right? That's makeup, and somebody's going to design that look for me, and that
yet another hobby.
Rock it out, right? That's probably one of the more bleeding edge uses that I've seen. Sephora is also augmenting the signs, so when you walk in a store with your phone, the signage often is augmented and things are popping off signs that you're aiming at, and that gives you a little taste of where we're going. But every company, I believe, in the next couple of years is going to have to rethink itself and rethink from scratch what it is, what it's going to present to you, a customer wearing these glasses, and how does that change? Are you going to have to change everything about what you're doing? I mean, just think about a hotel of the future. You're going to walk into the hotel lobby and it's not going to have registration desk anymore. It's just going to say your room is over to the right, and there's a blue line on the floor taking you to your room when you walk in. And when you get within 3 feet of the door unlocks because it knows it's you, because you have eye sensors on your eyes, biometrics, and it knows exactly where it is, and it can talk to the cloud computing and unlock the door. That might be a feature in a hotel of the future, right? But to do that, you had to rebuild your whole hotel using IoT devices to enable this. You had to rethink through what it means to have a hotel, and you had to rethink the customer experience. What do you mean we don't have a registration desk anymore? How is that going to work? And to make that work, you have to rebuild your hotel using IoT devices, right? And this work is underway at many companies. Already the NFL is putting sensors in the football stadiums and on the football players to enable you wearing these glasses at a football game and seeing how fast the receiver is running. And in fact, there's sensors coming in the ball, and it can tell as soon as it leaves the quarterback's hands, how well was it thrown? What's the likelihood that it'll get completed, and all sorts of stuff. In fact, the game could stop and then let you bet on, is that ball going to make it into the receiver's hands? Put down $1.
Well, Robert, I have to say this was definitely the most lively Coffee with Mr. IoT we've had. I think you talked about a lot how sensors and VR are going to come together. Without sensors, VR doesn't work without VR. Sensors really make less sense. I really appreciate that. And I have to say I walk away with a lot more enthusiasm about mixed reality. I do have to say I wonder why I would still go to a stadium actually if I can watch it in VR real at home. But that's a whole different story, and it goes back to how customer experience changes. So,
as your mind still likes analog, at least until we get the jack in, and even then, your eyes still will perceive analog, and analog is still better, and it's still gonna be better than the most expensive TV you can buy today, right? Yeah. So going to the actual stadium and cheering for your team and hearing the noise and being there is still better than watching it on a screen at home. Even though we all know that the markets for these things are going to grow. I think TV is going to see a growth spurt in about 2-3 years, because I'm going to be able to watch 2 or 3 football games at one time using these glasses while I'm walking around a shopping mall, right? I'm going to be able to see my favorite 3 teams right here with 3 separate screens, and I'm going to be able to walk around and watch the games wherever I am. And they're going to be my games, not yours, right?
Robert, thank you for getting us so excited.
Yeah.
It looks like this coffee break is coming to a close. I want to thank you, Robert, for this awesome conversation. And please join Rachel and I again, not next Friday because we're going to be off for the holidays, but we'll be back the first week of January. And by the way, if you missed any part of today's conversation, please watch again on my YouTube channel, which I, by the way, have a new YouTube channel. So there's 2 for now. We'll move it shortly, but you can see this all on YouTube. And with that, I want to say thank you, and I'll see you after the holidays. Happy holidays,
Thanks,
everyone.
Robert.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.